York. Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us and ready to talk to you. 888-589-8840. The state of Texas has been the scene of an intense battle over the issue of life for the last several days and weeks. And Wendy Davis has even sold, well, she didn't intend to, but the pink sneakers she was wearing on the floor of the Senate while she filibustered this law. And you have to let that reality penetrate your mind. What was she filibustering? She was filibustering the idea that children beyond the age of 20 weeks should not be murdered. In other words, we should be able to kill kids beyond the age of 20 weeks in the mind of Wendy Davis, this celebrated now hero, according to the abortion industry and the news media in the country. This is why, friend, we at AFA Today and all the broadcasters at AFR Talk are committed to telling you the real story. We're not going to get distracted by pink sneakers. There's real stuff going on here. Let's take your calls. I've not talked to you just about all week, and I've missed you. So let's have a chat here, 888-589-8840. And let's start first with Hector calling from Florence, South Carolina. Hey, Hector, welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today.
Hey, Kevin, long time no talk. I hope you and your family doing well. And
thank you very much.
You have a good July 4 coming up. Listen,
you too.
Yeah, thank you. Here's the deal. Back in the 70s, well, to start with, it's heart issues. You know, look at the heart. But anyway, with people. But back in the 70s, I don't think the church did all it could to put a stop to that Roe versus Wade stuff. Things were going on before that even took place, of course. But, you know, anytime money and anything else becomes more important than a human life, you know, loss of respect for human life, period. And it just goes on and on. Anytime murder becomes a convenience, you got a major problem, and it all is in the heart and heart issues. You know, it's not going to quit until we all are dead and gone. It's going to continue. And the reason being, as long as people put anything else above priority, above a human life, and there's no fear of God, no respect of God. They don't take him at his word. They don't care about his word, and they don't care, period. They're going to do what's convenient and what they think's right at the time, in spite of what God says or what the church says or anything else. And when that is going to continue like that, there's really no turning it around. And one last comment. This thing of abortions being cut off at 20 weeks, we're talking 5 months. And
right.
To me, that's way too long into it. It shouldn't be done at all. But if it just has to be done the way I see it going on, it should be a lot sooner.
No, you're right. You're right, Hector, and I thank you for your call. Here's the problem, friends, that we have children that are surviving outside the womb at 20 weeks. It's not necessarily a guarantee. It's very, very sensitive. It's very tricky. But you have children that are surviving outside the womb at 20 weeks. And so even if you take the worst case scenario arguments from the other side, say, well, okay, only if children can survive outside the womb are they actually considered a real person. No, I don't buy that at all. The moment that child is conceived, the DNA is exclusively human. It's not a frog. It's not a cat. It's not anything else. It's a human being, and it is definitely living. That's a human being. The DNA signature and whether or not the cells are alive, that's all I have to know. And it's a human being. But at 20 weeks? And yesterday, I don't know if you guys caught this or not, but when we were speaking with Lila Rose, she made mention that in the film that they put out yesterday from Live Action, that there's actually a doctor that tells a patient, a woman coming to this clinic for help, and she says, I'm not even sure if the baby has a face at 23 weeks. That's a joke, friends. That's a joke. That baby is on its way to being born. And everything that Dr. Campbell just told us is really true. In every other way, our society looks at that as a human being. Name, medications, everything that is associated with anything related to its care. If the pregnancy is, even in our criminal laws, Stacey Peterson law, you go to jail twice for killing a mom who's pregnant. I mean, that's the way it should be. This is why the Wendy Davises of this world, though they are living a very short term of celebrity right now, while defending the destruction of children. That's what Wendy Davis could put on her. I championed the death of children. Great tombstone slogan for you. Anyway, 888-589-8840. But Donna Campbell, the doctor that joined us today, right in on the discussions, and I'm hoping that she will continue to fight the good fight as she has been. Let's talk to Greg, who's calling us from Ohio. Greg, welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today.
Hey, how you doing? I just have a question. What if all taxpayers, pro-life taxpayers, just decided to quit paying taxes until they stop using our money to support Planned Parenthood and stuff like that? I know what would happen. But, I mean, what if everybody that was pro-life stood up and said, I'm not going to pay any more taxes until you stop using my money to support abortion clinics?
Greg, the only downfall to that is you would have to get everybody on the same page at the same time. If you just did it piecemeal here and there, there would be such intimidation and such manipulation of the use of law enforcement against that operation. You'd have to have the entire nation, all pro-lifers, committing to, okay, on this date, we're sending a note in our tax returns instead of our checks. And the problem is, with the way the employment laws work, they take it out before we ever see it anyway. So it's almost impossible to pull off. Let's go to John in Florida. John, you're next on AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Grace and peace and mercy.
Thank you, sir.
Kevin, I thank you for going after this abortion issue. It's so important. Killing of our firstborn is going to kill Christianity. The Bible says that there won't be any Christians left in the world except for maybe one or two. I called before and I mentioned that abortion is abomination that maketh desolate. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why.
All right. Thank you, John. Appreciate the call. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Let's talk to Sharon, who's calling from Arkansas. Hi, Sharon. Welcome.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you so much for the information that you give us. I look forward to it every day.
We are working hard, Sharon, to tell you the truth, regardless of what any other media member does in the town I live in, and we're committed to it. So you keep coming back, and we appreciate your encouragement.
Well, I appreciate you very much, and to say that I call it what it really is. We are pro-life, and the abortionists, they're not pro-choice, they're pro-death. Mm-hmm. And if we would stop calling them the pro-choice and make them say exactly what they're wanting. I mean, what is the opposite of life? It's death. And I don't have a problem with them wanting to say choose death rather than being pro-choice if they don't like us saying choose life. I think that you give up as a mother and a woman. I think that the choice comes when you put yourself in a situation where you could become pregnant. After that, the choice is over. You don't have the choice anymore. We need to be teaching our daughters and our women that this is the choice, not whether to let the baby live or let the baby die. That's not the choice. The choice is when you make the decision to do what you do that could possibly create a life.
Right.
And after that, it's like everything else in life. You live with the consequences of what you've done.
No, you're so right, Sharon. And one of the things that I've been telling people, you know, I'm the parent of 3 sons, and thank you for your call. I'm the parent of 3 sons, and people have asked, you know, my view of parenting. I wrote a book about raising boys, the kind of man every man should be. But my view on this is really simple. Parents have one responsibility. They just have one. It's not to buy sneakers and iPhones and Xboxes and everything else. It's not to even see to it that kids have gourmet food at night and a soft, big, fluffy bed to sleep in, although food and shelter and everything are important, and I'm not going to undermine that. But the real responsibility that parents have is to teach our children how to make decisions. And if we do not teach them the worldview, the foundation of truth, the Word of God, if we do not introduce into their lives the elements that give them the tools to make those decisions, then we have failed them. And so while there's a whole generation of parents running around trying to be their kids' best friends and, trying to get their kids to like them, I don't think you can worry about being liked. I think you've got to worry about doing what's right. And doing what's right with your kids is teaching them how to think and teaching them how to decide. Because every decision they make will have a moral component to it. Should I tie my shoes before I walk down the stairs? Yes, I should. Why? Because if I don't, as the father of 3 kids and the husband of the lovely bride, if I don't tie my shoes and I trip because the shoelace gets in my way and I fall down the stairs and break my leg, I've abandoned my responsibility to provide and protect for my family. There's a moral component to every decision that we make. Are we teaching our kids how to make morally based, sound thinking, judgment, and decisions? And that's what we've got to do. And that's why the way we live in this world matters. That's why what we decide every single day as it relates to how we model our lives in front of our kids matters. It's why it counts for something. They are depending on us to teach them how to think and how to live. And they will catch more of it by what they see in us than anything they will ever read. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Carl, who's calling us from Jacksonville, Texas. Hi, Carl. Welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough.
Well, thank you. I've got a real simple solution to take one of the weapons away from the pro-death people.
Okay.
Incest or rape. Okay, fine. Don't have abortions for that, which is kind of another way of an abortion is the morning after. They don't have to. They can't use that. Oh well, what about rape and incest? Okay, if you've been raped, if you've had incest, go get the morning after pill, and that way you don't have to abort a baby. I mean, even though that is an abortion, but I mean that's one thing that we can take away from them is that.
Yeah. What they would hit back with you, Carl, though, and it's a real tricky one. They would say, well, girls that have that happen to them are quite scared for some time, and sometimes they don't take action within a required window of time because they haven't told anybody about it. And again, you and I are probably the worst people in the world to be discussing that because neither one of us will ever experience that in that regard. But I am willing to say, and I've never found one pro-abortion person that is willing to take me up on my grand wager. But I've been willing to say, okay, you want me to approve abortion for these 2 instances. I will do that for a limited period of time. I'm still going to come and try to change the legal system to get it outlawed in those cases too. But I'll give it to you for a period of time. I will do that because I know that I will immediately begin to save nearly 100% of every child that's killed the moment that goes into effect. And by the way, it simultaneously bankrupts their industry, which is really what we got to do. You got to take the financial incentive out of it in order for people to really stop doing it. Because as long as they see financial remuneration, in if they're looking with dollar signs in their eyeballs, they're going to find a way to do that. But you de-incentivize it and you make it such an impossible or improbable thing to do, and only a handful of limited doctors and emergency rooms and so forth handle the rape and incest cases. Friends, abortion would be done. It would be bankrupt overnight if we passed a law like that. Now, please don't hear me. I'm a big fan of personhood, and because I believe that child is a person. I believe every child has the right to life. I only use that grand wager when I'm speaking with a leftist who will try to paint me as extreme if I seem unwilling to compromise on those regards. I'm not willing to compromise. I believe the child is a human being and deserves the right of protection. But I also know If I could get a law that allowed that to go into effect overnight, we would bankrupt the industry and we would save 99.97 children that were out there, like I said, overnight. Kevin McCullough, so glad you're with us every day at AFA Today. If you have not been catching all of the broadcasts, go to afatoday.com. Producer Brent is faithfully uploading the three main portions of the show every day, and you can review them and share them on Facebook and Twitter and so forth. It's very simple to do. afatoday.com, afatoday.com. And join us tonight for the Kevin McCullough Show when we've